Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you. Welcome to another episode of the Deen Show. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, all praise is to Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, that we're here today again, another week broadcasting to you. For those of you that don't get to catch us in Chicago, you can view all of our shows at thedeenshow.com. We're excited that people from all around the globe have been sending their emails and they're real excited about the shows, and we're very happy to get all your support. Today we're going to be talking about the obstacles, some of the things that are preventing people from getting married. So without further delay, when we come back, we're going to bring out Imam Shpendim, who's going to help us continue talking about marriage, the obstacles of marriage, some of the solutions. When we come back here on the Deen Show, Adam, hit the nasheed.
Allah, there's only one God and Muhammad is his messenger. Allah, la ilaha illallah. Allah, there's only one God and Jesus was his messenger. Allah, La ilaha illallah.
I don't know why I did that. Maybe it's just to break the ice. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Sheikh Imam Shpendim, for being with us again here on the Deen Show.
It's my pleasure to be back.
We got some people excited last time you were on the show.
Good reason to be excited.
Marriage is a very hot topic.
Sure is.
Love, it's in the air, is it?
Well, it's spring, it's in the air, you're right.
But we want to make sure that, people are doing it right. There's a creator, he's one, and he's monitoring everything. He's got a code, a law, how he wants us to do things. Is that correct? Some people ignore it.
Correct.
With the Deen Show here, we try to encourage people to seek out who their creator is, the true purpose of one's existence in life, and, to want to encourage them to want to do things according to how the Creator wants them to do things. It's very logical, very simple. It's nothing weird and bizarre. So one of those things that God Almighty has put in us, this desire to want to be a man, to want to be with a woman want to be with a man. But now you got to give that woman her rights. She's got to give you your rights, and that's the thing what you do within marriage, right? And then you can just have that good time that we talked about with the benefits. And you can go back to Imam Shpendim's section on the Deen Show if you missed that show, part 1. And then we talked about the harms and just giving people some of the things that we talked about. Today we're going to be talking about the obstacles and the solutions to some of these obstacles on this episode of Deen Show. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, just real quick, tell us, I kind of brought people up to speed a little bit, but if you can kind of summarize, give us an intro before we get into this part of the show about some of the things we talked about. If you can brush over a little bit, you can bring them up to speed as well.
Sure. Well, we talked about the importance of marriage in Islam and the sacred relationship that it is, and why Muslims should be very highly motivated to want to get married, some of the rewards and blessings associated with it, how marriage is actually one of the things that is a reminder for us of what God promises us in the hereafter, of in paradise, of a blessed relationship, of happiness, and it gives us many of the different fruits that are basically going to be in paradise, but at a worldly level. And likewise, we also talked about some of those who are perhaps looking to find that love and that relationship outside of the Islamic realm and scope. So the harms involved with it and some of the problems associated with it. And basically, that was basically where it was basically left at. And this time around, we're going to look to talk about some of the obstacles that some of the brothers and sisters are complaining about that are preventing them from being able to get married. And we're going to look to bring some solutions for them also.
Okay, Ma, we're going to get straight to it so we don't waste any time because the program is short, goes by very fast.
Too fast.
Some of the points that people bring up or that's in their mind, some don't express it like that, but through their behavior or even through expressing it, they will put education. This is very important. Every Muslim should seek education, but
Correct.
How far does it go now? Someone would say, I have to finish school. I have to wait. Either the person is saying that or their parents are saying that. They're saying, you know what, I got to get this PhD, I got to get the master, I got to get the bachelor's, then I'll think about marriage. What do you guys say about this?
Well, in Islam, there's nothing to actually say that you have to first complete your college education and go into grad school and have finished up this career or that career before you get married. That's the first thing. There's nothing in the Quran or in the Sunnah saying you have to first go to college before you can get married. Naturally, to have an education is very highly encouraged in Islam, and actually it's something that's a fundamental teaching in Islam. To be ignorant is not at all praiseworthy. It's on the opposite scale of being something that's highly discouraged. But at the same time, our brothers and sisters who want to go ahead and get their education and become successful people in this world, they need to balance things out. They have to balance things out. And it can't be looking at basically, I want to have this for me now of my education without taking into consideration what is it going to mean for me if I delay marriage for another 4 years, another 8 years, when I turn 30-something years old, and then I'm going to look to want to try to settle down. There has to be a correct understanding. There has to be a placing of everything in its proper place.
Now you set yourself up, you're in school, you obviously have these temptations, you might be on the college campus, you might be somewhere out in the dorms, wherever the college students are at, and not having a mate. Aren't you setting yourself up now to possibly get in some trouble? Because you're single. Over here you get married, and you do it the right way, your partner can kind of help you study, your partner can help you kind of achieve those goals. Is this a setback of getting married, or actually is this something beneficial that your partner together can keep you out of harm's way, and at the same time help motivate you to achieve those goals that you want to achieve together doing it?
It can be a distraction, but understand that even if a person remains single, it doesn't mean they're not going to have distractions. There's always going to be something or the other. But the reality is that if we were to look to move in the right direction and proceed with a solution of getting married, even though we haven't yet completed even our undergrads, but you have the right spouse, the right mate, that you can then together look to complete your studies, so that you're not going to have the temptations, which are the natural needs that your body, that your soul, that your heart and emotions are searching for, of having a companion. Out on college, if you're going to be living on campus or not, you're going to see couples. You're going to see people hugging and kissing, showing affection. You're going to see things that are going to naturally remind you time and time again of how lonely you are. And there's only so much that a person can really continue to remain unmarried, yet at the same time to remain chaste and to remain true to themselves and true to God.
So this shouldn't be an excuse.
No, not at all.
Just do it, and nothing to it but to do it.
Nothing to it except to do it.
All right. Okay, so the next common excuse, and it's something that we hear often, I think we got a lot of programming going on. People might watch some movies, they see this, fairy tale, romance, might have read a romance novel, watch something on TV, and you think that, love is just something that you just got to be swept off your feet. You just got to, this love at first sight, or I got to wait to fall in love. And is this something that is ideal? Is this something that's for real, or is this just something that we are getting from Hollywood, Bollywood? Talk to us about this.
It's fiction.
It's fiction, huh?
Yeah, waiting for that knight in shining armor to come sweep her off her feet, or waiting for that Hur al-Ain to descend from heaven, that's going to be your Mrs. Perfect, and so on and so forth. This is something that has actually done a lot of harm to the relationships of Muslims. When somebody has in their head a fairy tale that they want to make into a reality, when they take Hollywood and Bollywood and try to make that into everyday living, they're actually committing a great injustice against themselves. Big difference. Even if you were to really look at the reality of the relationships of those people that are married from Hollywood and Bollywood, you see that their marriages are nowhere where their movies portray them to be. Love is a quality that is from Allah Azza wa Jal, as His name is Al-Wadud, the most loving, the most loved. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, he taught us, saying, "Zawwijul wadud al-walud." Marry the women that are both loving and that will bear many children. So to find that wife and that husband who are going to be loving and are going to have those qualities, it's from Islam. But let's understand it in the proper context. It's not that you're going to have this person just from the beginning. You're going to feel this love that's going to sweep you off your feet, and that you're going to have this romance and passion the way that, whether it's movies or romance novels, the way that they portray it. That's really, in essence, the other L word, the four-letter L word, and it's lust. It's not really love.
So we got confused here now.
There's a big confusion between the two. Love in Islam is a required quality, and it's one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the glorified and the exalted, that He says in the Quran, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And from His miraculous signs is that He has created for you spouses just like yourselves, and that He has placed between the two of you love and mercy. So these are qualities that we need to have, but at the same time we need to put them in the proper perspective and understand it's not lust. It's not falling in love with the person's complexion and how handsome he looks or how beautiful in her body shape and things of that sort. Love is a quality that really, through the relationship with time, after truly getting the ability to know one another and having the relationship established on the right principles, that's something that exists, but it's further nurtured and cultivated, so that it truly blossoms to what it needs to be through that relationship of marriage.
Next point, some people might resort to what's called, self-pleasure. We're living in the real world here. I mean, probably people have done this before, they're doing it today, but now to avoid some of these temptations, someone might end up turning to self-pleasure. I don't know if you can, I'm a little shy to bring up any other words, but address this. This is also something that someone might end up to treat this issue, this desire they have, but they might not go out and end up committing a fornication or hooking up outside of the way that the Creator wants them to do, but they might just start doing this to put off the marriage thing.
It's kind of like a person seeking to treat symptoms and not looking to actually remedy the origins of the issues at hand. Naturally, it's a need that both the man and the woman have, but looking to fulfill it and satisfy it through anything other than marriage, it's wrong, it's sinful. It's less of a sin than going out there and fornicating. But at the same time, it's not something that's really acceptable. One of the things that Allah Azza wa Jal mentions to us in the Quran, whereas He says to us, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ إِلَّا عَلَى أَزْوَاجِهِمْ أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ غَيْرُ مَلُومِينَ فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. And those who they guard the chastity of their genitals, except from their wives and those whom are of their possessions, whoever seeks a means or method outside of that, then those are the transgressors. So the self-pleasure, or the word, this is something that's not really acceptable. But there's also a problem with this that perhaps somebody doesn't look at. It's an addicting thing, where someone who then feels that they don't really need the other, where they can take care of their own business. They don't need a man. They don't need a woman.
You kind of fall in love with yourself, huh?
Well,
you say, I don't forget this. I'll just hang out with myself all the time. I mean, this is what can lead to, huh?
Quite possibly.
Pornography then?
But what really happens is, and some people don't think about it, that it perverts your mind.
Yeah.
Because in order for somebody to get into that type of stuff, they need to be thinking about things. They need to be dwelling on stuff. And that's where the perversion really starts setting in. And so if this is something that a person then, because it's something that they're doing on their own and they engage in this regularly, frequently, it corrupts them from within. And this opens up the doors for many other things that are very harmful.
Yeah.
Aside from hair growing on your palms and losing your eyesight.
Yeah, this is okay. Something bad we need to stay away from. Astaghfirullah. Yes, okay. You got just something normal, cold feet. You just get a little nervous, you get scared. This is something also.
Cold feet, yeah, definitely. Both the brothers and the sisters.
Astaghfirullah. Yes, okay. You got just something normal, cold feet. You just get a little nervous, you get scared. This is something also.
Cold feet, yeah, definitely. Both the brothers and the sisters, they will suffer from this. And this is because the closer that we move to doing something that is right, that is good with what God wants us to, with what Allah wants us to do, Shaitan is going to be there to kind of frighten us from it. He's going to be there to throw some fear into our mind, such that we're going to say, hold on a bit, wait, let's slow it down a little bit. Maybe she really isn't the right person. Maybe he's really not, I'm rushing or something of that sort. So the cold feet, it's natural, but at the same time we need to realize that it shouldn't stop us. As long as we're clear on the principles, the core points that are the reason why we want to marry that person, and there's nothing that has been a major issue to prevent that from happening, the cold feet is something that's normal. It's going to happen. It should in no way stop you from doing it.
Yeah. We're coming to the next point, instability. Someone might have some financial, emotional, psychological, always thinking about future plans, and they're not really thinking about this plan.
Definitely, in order for someone to get married, they need to be stable, and stable on all the different points that you mentioned. Why? Because you're now moving into a different stage of life. It's no longer you worrying about yourself or maybe living under the roof of your parents. This is now you starting your own family. And to do that, there has to be certain prerequisites, certain qualities and qualifications that are needed from both the brother's side and from the sister's side. And part of it is the financial, that you need to be able to take care of the basic needs. And of course, depending on what you're marrying or who you're marrying, the level of the economical, social status that the person came from, there's going to be some variations. But in general, if we're Muslims who are looking to try to fulfill our innate needs of marriage and companionship, and we want to do it according to what Islam teaches us, then the basic needs, especially if we're talking about the young brothers and sisters who they want to go ahead and finish up with their education and so on and so forth, that we need to humble ourselves. We need to humble ourselves, but there still needs to be that ability to make sure that you can take care of the basics, so that you're not getting married today and then breaking up and divorcing tomorrow because you don't have money to pay for an apartment or to keep paying for the apartment or for bills or things of that sort. I'm not talking about luxuries of buying fancy furniture and jewelry and things of that sort, which are materialistic luxuries, which aren't real basic needs.
Mm-hmm. She wants the Brad Pitt, at the same time the Hafiz of Quran, and he wants the woman to be in hijab praying, but at the same time supermodel. We get to a position where now really picky. We got high expectations, high standards. What we got to say about this?
Honestly, that's one of the complaints that the sisters are making more than the brothers, saying there's no good men out there, and all the good men are taken. And the good men that are taken, they can't add second, thirds, and fourths to their profiles. But that's a different story. But there are some issues with regards to, realistically speaking, of high expectations. And this again goes back to the fiction of Hollywood and Bollywood and everything else that's out there, that's of the beauty that people see and think that, I'd like to have that. Sure, I'd like to have that too, but let's be realistic. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to what you're looking for, there has to be the core qualities that really are going to be, the bread and butter of that relationship. Because when it comes to the physical things, yes, there should be physical attraction. She should be, attractive to you. He should be attractive to you. But to, at the same time, look to have the best of all these different qualities in a person. There is no such thing as an ideal man or the ideal woman, the ideal Muslim, the ideal Muslimah. So we need to really look to put things back into a proper perspective if we're going to look to try to really be true to ourselves and at the same time have a fulfilling relationship with whoever it is that this marriage is going to take place with.
Now, these are some of the eternal issues that one as the individual might go through, but now you have some external issues with, say, the parents, where the parents, they want to pick the spouse. They're not kind of letting their child, or maybe it's not even a child now, the woman, she's 24, 25, she's an adult, he's an adult, and of course the parents should be involved in this, but how far do you, and where do you draw the line where they're like, no, you're going to marry this girl, this guy from my village, from my town, who I pick, he's got to have that doctor's degree, 3 of them, 4 PhD, whatever the case, but you get what I'm saying, how do we address this?
This is one of the hard problems to deal with, especially depending on certain cultures where parents are still very dominant in their children's lives, where parents feel that they have all the say. And, Islamically, we're supposed to love our parents and we're supposed to respect them, but at the same time, the parents are supposed to really recognize that they should be more interested in what's best for their kids. And the way that they may perceive the better person to be for their wife, for their son, or a husband for their daughter, it may not really be what their son or daughter is looking for. So there really has to be a true sense of communication, a humbling between the two, so that this way they can look to make the best thing happen for their son or daughter. And there's more that can be definitely talked about with regards to that.
Okay, now we got another very important point, the high dowries. We discussed this a little bit in our last show, but let's go over this quickly, you know, the high dowries.
Correct. The dowry, the mahar, basically the gift that is given to the wife by the husband, as is the Islamic tradition, and not the opposite, as is the case with certain different cultures where the wife is supposed to give the dowry to the husband. The Islamic one is that the husband gives to the wife, but there's such an expectation of it's so much. Sometimes you'll have the illusion that you're actually purchasing the person instead of actually marrying them. And that's just the dowry. And then you add on top of it all the other financial requests and obligations and burdens of jewelry and furnishings of an apartment and home and this and that, and the ceremony itself. It's just mind-blowing.
Can you make it happen if both parties are in different locations? This is something also where, okay, you know, you might have someone in mind, but they're on the opposite end of the world.
Well, this is one of the more common happenings today, especially with the world becoming as one community, one village, where people are meeting each other or having people that are introducing them, and yet they're in different locations, whether it's within the same state or within the same country or perhaps on the other side of the globe. It can be done. But again, the proper steps need to be taken to make sure that there is no harm, that there is no treachery that's involved in any of this.
Okay, another one dealing with the differences of age, race, social, economical status. This point of a deterrent also.
And this goes back to some of the standards that people hold in place for themselves. Where a girl, for example, who's very sensitive of her age says, I cannot marry somebody who's younger than me. And in doing so, she perhaps maybe excludes the person that would be the best husband for her. Or likewise, you know, a husband who, you know, the man who's looking to marry, but he doesn't want to marry somebody who's outside of his race, outside of his culture. And so every time we look to limit our selection by self-imposed restrictions, whether it's age, whether it's culture and race, whether it's you know, socioeconomic status of the person and educational level and so on and so forth, if we're not going to be looking at the core criteria and qualifications and we base it on these issues, then we're really harming ourselves and we're not in any way adding anything positive to this process of finding that right person.
What is that solution when someone brings up as an excuse the education aspect of it?
There's no contradiction between the two. That's the first thing that needs to be clear in the minds of the young couples or the young brothers and sisters that are looking to get married, and also in the minds of their parents. There's no contradiction. There's nothing that says that these are you know, the anti of the other. That if you go to school, you can't get married, or if you're married, you can't go to school. If that's understood, then the next step is to understand that it can actually better things for you. If the young man and the young woman that are looking to finish up their studies, and they go about it the right way, they can actually have a better chance at fulfilling their educational and career goals, because their core needs are also being at the same time addressed. Loneliness is a very serious issue, and because of it, it's even more of an issue when people are on campus or they're in college and they see others in relationships where there's emotions of love and affection being expressed, and yet they themselves are trying to remain good, righteous, and with that, they're trying to focus on their studies. So they're becoming depressed, they're not able to focus and study as well as they like, or they're playing games where they're allowing shaitan to trick them into thinking, I can, you know, focus on my studies, but I can do some of the other things of what were addressed to try to basically take care of the symptoms and the needs and whatever it is that I have until I actually finish up my studies. But one of the things that's also clear, and this is something that those who are listening know, there really doesn't seem to be an end to the studies, to the education, or to the goal, to that limit, that boundary that's set. Because what happens once they finish up their undergrad, they finish up their 4 or 5 years of their bachelor's? The next step is what? I need to go ahead and finish up some grad studies. I need to go ahead and do my master's, or perhaps complete my PhD, or finish up med school, or engineering or law or whatever the case is. And in the process, you add another several years to it. And so again, you're not going to get married because you feel it's going to be the same issue, the same distraction, but there's several more years of punishment or self-inflicted punishment upon yourself. And you're at the same time keeping yourself open to the problems that shaitan, that the devil, he throws in you. I mean, let's be real. Everybody knows that there's desires within us, that there's lust there. There's many things of temptation that are out there trying to take us away from what we know is correct. And so this is one of the things that really needs to be put into proper context, and hopefully it's understood by our brothers and sisters.
It looks like we are out of time for this episode of the Deen Show, but we're going to have to invite you back, and we're going to have to continue giving the people, inshallah, God willing, the solutions to some of these points that we brought up that many people out there are facing.
Inshallah.
So are you willing to come back and finish this up?
Definitely.
Because you started it. We got to finish it.
You started.
Yes, both of us. All right, so thank you for being with us.
Jazakumullah khairan. Allah reward you.
Thank you. You too. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Deen Show. So you got to hear it. Here's some of the obstacles that keep people away from something that is so beautiful. Coming together with that man or that woman, the woman coming together with the man coming together with the woman, to do things right, to do it the way that is pleasing to the Creator of the heavens and the earth. So now, with that said, we invite you to come back, same time, same channel. If you miss us on the TV, you can catch us at thedeenshow.com, THEDEEN show.com. And then, until then, we'll see you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم.
It's cold, it's late, everybody. لا إله إلا محمد رسول الله.